In the NCAA, student athletes must be amateurs. They cannot be paid for their abilities, but I believe that at least some of them should be. Their schools make so much money, but all of that money seems to go to the wrong places. Things that universities ask students to do are above and beyond what a company would ask of its employees. Yet these athletes receive no payments for their work. I believe that compensation, even in the smallest amount, is the least that an NCAA athlete deserves. First of all, college athletes create lots and lots of revenue for their schools, but do not get paid for it. According to Forbes, the University of Alabama Athletics created $143.3 million in revenue in 2013, which is more than all 30 NHL teams and 25 of the 30 NBA teams. Of that revenue that athletics creates, some goes to scholarships, but most goes to administrators, coaches, and athletic directors. The average salary for a premier Division I basketball coach is above $1 million, which seems to overemphasize their importance to the success of the team, in my opinion. Some could argue that it's unfair to other students, but they do not realize that a large portion of the money that is invested in those students and future students comes from major college sports. Some studies on college admission rates even find a correlation between the success of their teams and the number of students who apply to the school. NCAA institutions use their players' brand to directly make their school more money. Here's an example. A school sells a jersey of the star quarterback. Although the jersey does not say his name, it only says his number. Fans will buy the jersey because it is associated with that athlete. If they wanted to buy a jersey that does not signify a student athlete and only the team, they'd buy a blank one with the school's name on it. The student whose number is on that jersey gets 0% of its sales. Every professional athlete makes a margin of what they create for their franchise, including those jersey sales I've been talking about. And the organization still survives and can afford to pay these professional athletes outlandish salaries. Second, college athletes devote too much of their time and attention to not be paid. Athletics requires as much time, if not more, than a full-time job. Between classes, practice, and other preparations, the average college football player spends 43.3 hours per week on their sport. Most full-time jobs require about 40. Coaches do not spend any more time than the athletes, yet they can sign contracts which pay them millions of dollars. Athletics forces students to miss class in order to play their games. Most athletes have to travel for their sports, sometimes many days at a time. According to the richest, the minimum days of class missed by a college basketball player who plays in the NCAA tournament is 6, and that athlete can do nothing to change that. Grades for a student athlete are generally lower than that of a regular student, partially because of all these missed classes. Scholarships, an opportunity to further education, are usually the reward for an athlete attending college. When the athlete is forced to choose their sport over their academics, the scholarship does not seem to do what it was intended. Schools cannot control how much effort an athlete puts into class, but they could do better to regulate how much time they put into class. A variety of things can be done in order to make sure that student athletes receive what they deserve for their efforts. Just recently, a lawsuit regarding the treatment of Northwestern University's football players resulted in a judge ruling that those athletes are now allowed to unionize and bargain for better conditions and benefits. This is a step in the right direction, but it still doesn't go the full distance. Despite these figures I'm giving you, not all athletes at all schools are eligible for payment. Some athletic departments just make more than others. Not every sports team creates revenue for the school, and not every school has the means to invest more into athletics than they already do. Athletes should only be paid a percentage of what they bring in, and it should be spread evenly. Athletes do not need to be paid through a salary or on an hourly basis, such as employees. They just need to be paid enough to pay for more than school. If the athletes are paid, they will not be so eager to leave college for the professional world, particularly the professional sports world, and they will, in turn, receive a more worthwhile education. The school and the individual will not feel as though their college experience was wasted. NCAA student athletes have chosen a very, very demanding and difficult path, and some of them deserve to be rewarded for it. In many colleges and universities around the nation, athletics raise a huge amount of money and sometimes even affect admission rates. When a student chooses to do athletics while pursuing a degree, they take on a huge time commitment. For all the time they spend in athletics and away from school, they are at a great disadvantage. There are many things that schools can do and should do in order to treat their athletes better. The only hope that I have is that student athletes will at some time be treated fairly for their hard work.